The Clayman.
The Clayman. Finster Clayman. At your service.
Finster Claymanoff.
Clayman and Clayman offices.
The offices of Clayman and Finster.
It's just him.
It's just him. Good morning and welcome back to the Laser Comb Podcast, the show where we comb through random episodes of classic TV shows with a fine-tooth laser. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
And I am NeoCal.
And this week, we are going to be talking about the 11th episode overall of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Go, go, Power Rangers! As a poll, via a poll on Twitter, I put it out into the world. 4 choices, and this actually won by quite a wide margin. And as we do every week, we put the show through the random number generator and came up with episode 11. So here we are. A little bit of backstory. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers originally premiered on August 28th, 1993 on Fox Kids. And let me tell you, I was 8 years old in 1993. I watched this shit, like the first episode, the fucking day it aired, because I was seeing commercials for it on Fox Kids over the course of like 2 months or so. And I was just so jazzed by what I saw that I tuned in. Like, I think it was a Saturday morning. It was like 7:30 or something like that. I tuned in, set my alarm and shit, and I fucking loved Power Rangers. I fell in love with it straight away.
It was. I've told you the stories of how I was a kid who liked jumping on trampolines and running around with my dog and riding bikes.
Yeah, there's room for both.
Yeah, and I'd catch like this, and people liked it, and we'd like the other kids in school, and I would like role play it, right? And all the guys want to be the Red Ranger.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be Billy.
And indeed, there ended up being quite a bit of controversy surrounding the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which I remember in the mid-90s, because parents started getting mad. Parents and teachers were getting mad because kids were like trying to emulate the moves they saw in the show, and were just like very shittily like karate chopping the shit out of one another.
It's funny that they blamed Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but like, if kids think that's cool, like, isn't it a good thing if you put them in martial arts?
I mean,
because that teaches them discipline, and like, hey, like, you're not supposed to hit people.
Yeah, like, discipline, exercise, like
exercise.
I was in martial arts, not as a child, as an adult. Highly recommended.
Same, oddly.
Yeah. So this episode in particular, as already mentioned, was the 11th episode overall. When did it originally air? Presumably in 1993. September 17th. No fucking way. This episode originally aired on September 17th, 1993. What is the date today, good sir? At the time of recording.
Off.
Yeah.
What?
Listeners, at the time of recording, we're recording this on September 17th, 2021. So, like,
wow.
This episode, out of sheer happenstance, by way of the random number generator, we are talking about this episode 18 years to the day after it originally aired.
Amazing.
That's I love shit like that, when like just like weird coincidences like that happen.
You were like, what is September 17th? And I was like trying to think, and I was like, oh, which president was shot on that day or something like that? And you're like, look at the day. Wild.
Yeah. So the episode opens with
What's this one
the
called?
oh, right, you're right. It is called Clowning Around. My bad. I forgot to
Clowning
mention that.
around.
Clowning Around.
They're not
Uh
kidding.
uh as I mentioned, I love Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers to this day. It's been on Netflix for eons now, so every now and then, like, especially when I'm drunk, I'll get like nostalgic. Or when I'm sick. Like I remember having a sick day about 5 years ago where I just like watched Power I had the flu or something and I just watched Power Rangers on Netflix for like 8 hours.
Amazing.
Um but this is an episode I don't ever go back to, and indeed, I don't remember this episode at all. And after watching it, I can
See why?
I know why this is not one that I go back to. So
Yeah.
yep, yeah. So the Rangers are at a fair
Yeah,
slash
like a fair.
carnival. Yeah, they're at a fair. And Zach is like walking around on stilts,
Being
be,
a cool guy on stilts.
being a cool guy on stilts, because that's what you do. Um,
Anyone listening, I haven't watched this in like actual decades. I forgot how they wrote each character
yeah,
and how they write Billy saying like the most convoluted, like complicated. Every phrase he says is like the nerdy way of saying things. He's the nerd character, even though he's ripped and he knows martial arts, right?
yeah. It's like he out Data's Commander Data,
Yes,
basically.
and I had forgotten that. Like, holy shit!
I had
This
forgotten that too. And like
everything, every single thing that comes out of his mouth.
Zach is like the stereotypical like fun loving cool guy. Kimberly makes like a joke about shopping.
So what was it? She was there like, oh wow, Zach, your like balance is so good. And he's like, yeah, this is no problem. I'm figuring it out. And Kimberly's like, oh, the only thing I can balance is shopping bags on my arm,
One on each arm.
one on each arm. And I'm like, oh, is that how long has it been? I was shocked at the writing. And I was like, I guess that's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I guess it is. Also, I said 18 years to the day earlier. It's actually 28 years.
Yeah, that's right. It's not that
It
2011.
yeah, it wasn't 2003. It was 1993. All man, that was 28 years ago. Are
Cue the
we
meme of Saving Private Ryan. The gif of like what's his name aging? Matt
uh Matt
Damon.
Matt Damon. Matt
Yeah.
Damon.
Matt Damon.
um fuck, 28 years ago. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
All this podcast suddenly got kind of depressing.
But let's get out of that depressing phase because what do we got here? We quickly realize that there are some pedo clowns at this carnival.
Yeah, we get a very like shitty like visual cue that shows us that the clowns walking around at the fairgrounds are putties in disguise. And it's literally just like a putty head with like lighting effect, like
They
superimposed.
they superimpose and then 50% opacity
There, yeah, there you go.
just in case it wasn't obvious.
Yeah, that's whew.
I like how they
And
can't talk in their putty form, but they absolutely can when they're disguised as people.
well, that confused the hell out of me earlier. I'm like, wait, what's going on? They're like talking to each other.
Oh,
I thought they were.
the bosses, when they're disguised as people, can talk. The other clowns that are just putties, they don't talk.
Oh.
Okay, got it.
So Bulk and Skull show up, and there are a couple of young women like playing a game with their backs turned to them, and they're holding up cotton candy, like sticks of cotton candy behind them, and they're standing in like the most awkward pose.
Kind of like how you would never play a game.
Yeah, it's
This
where is
show,
it at?
man.
Where is it
Watching
at?
it as
It's
an adult, I'm like, man, everything about this show is so bad that it's good.
at around like 2:37. Listeners, we're watching this on Netflix. So at around 2:37, look at these two like blonde ladies, like the fucking awkward as shit way they're standing.
Well, they needed to stand like that so that the bullies could steal their cotton candy.
I Yeah,
So that Bebop and Rocksteady could steal the cotton candy.
Bebop and Rocksteady. Yeah, basically. I like how Bulk and Skull like steal them and like each take like a bite and then like
And
discard
then
them.
like pull it apart and laugh around. And it must have been so fun playing those characters.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
They're only in
apparently
each episode like a minute or two, unless the episode's themed around them.
apparently the guy who plays Bulk is like the nicest dude too.
I can see that.
Yeah, he's been active. From what I know, he's been continued to stay active in the Power Rangers like fan community, and like he was on the show like he kept coming back to like later iterations of the show like all the way into the 2000s.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
rad.
Um so we get introduced to this fucking clown, the clown that we saw earlier talking to the putty. And we find out his name is Pineapple. Pineapple the clown.
It's a good clown name.
And Trini, the Yellow Ranger, has brought her little cousin to the her little cousin who's a child to the fair, and this clown like immediately takes a like disturbing interest in this little girl.
Like I said, and we're at a carnival, pedo clowns.
Like, straight up, like
And none of the none of the teenagers seem to think anything is wrong with this clown, like licking his lips and eyeballing this like 8-year-old girl.
yes, listeners, I looked up the ages of the cast members earlier, particularly Kimberly because reasons, and yeah, they're all in their 20s.
Yeah,
So, quote unquote teenagers
with attitude.
with attitude. Yeah, so pedo clown, I guess that's his new name.
That's his name.
Pedo clown like does a
Reveals
bunch of
his plan to another putty.
he like does a bunch of tricks that
Oh, right.
really charm Trini's little cousin, and the Power Rangers like all fuck off, and we go to Rita's moon base, and like Finster's like working like she has like a back and forth between Finster, who is the guy who makes like all of her like monsters for her.
He's the clay
Yeah.
maker. So yeah,
Uh
he's working on his creations as he do.
yeah, so it's revealed through dialogue here that this whole entire carnival is a ruse by Rita to try and lure the Power Rangers. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, that seems like a very elaborate plan, but
Yeah, when you could just, do the same plan without making a carnival. I want to know the
whoa.
moves there. Like, did she fund this? Are all of the workers there putties?
And if so, like if you can do this, why not just do this and set up a business venture?
Yeah,
Like, it seems pretty successful.
right? All of
um,
these schemes. I like how the clowns because the bosses of each episode are always like they have some plan or they have a different personality in a different form, right? The clown's idea is to kidnap or steal Trin's cousin as bait to get to the Power Rangers so they can split
when
them
they
off one by one.
when they know that the Power Rangers are here already, because like Rita knows who they actually are, which also makes me wonder why she doesn't just like send putties to their houses at night when they're sleeping.
Well, yeah, she does know exactly.
She does, yeah. It's
I'm
been
noticing
established in other episodes that she knows exactly who the Rangers are.
if
Yeah,
if you're
it
unfamiliar, go ahead.
it's just the rest of Angel Grove that does Angel Grove being the town that they live in. It's just the
Yeah,
rest of Angel Grove that doesn't know. But and also like later on, I'll bring this up later as well, but like she does her thing in every episode where she's like, "Make my monster grow," and then she throws this spear down and it becomes a kaiju. And I'm like, why don't you just start with that?
Oh, because everybody needs to clear out.
Why would she care about that?
She wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So,
so
so
anyone familiar with Christopher and I and his other podcasts, we review a lot of cartoons like for kids. Um and some of them stand up, a lot of them do. When you watch them as adults. Um
yeah.
as someone who doesn't have hyper nostalgia for it, whew, this is rough, man. The writing's rough. I gotta tell you.
So pedo clown lures away Trini's cousin in a series of shots that's just a series of interactions that's just really creepy to watch. Like
Yeah,
I I mean maybe they put this in a kids show to tell kids that like, hey, if someone is acting this way to you, they're
stay
not good.
away.
They're up to something.
Yep.
I guess that makes sense, but and I guess props to the actor who plays pedo clown because he's doing it pretty effectively.
Props to the actor who plays pedo clown. Something I never thought I'd ever hear myself say.
So Trini tracks down her cousin and pedo clown sprinkles this dust on her and turns her into cardboard
Oh,
because it
such
was
a
mentioned
bad.
it was mentioned earlier. We skipped over it,
Yeah.
but it was mentioned earlier that Rita and Pedo Clown's plan is to lure out the Power Rangers so he can turn them into cardboard with his pixie dust.
With the sparkles. This clown sparkles.
This
I
glitter.
wish he had talked like that. It's glitter time. So that's a really funny interaction because she realizes the clown's a pedo clown, and Trini immediately like gets ready to fight him, and her cousin stands in her way and goes, "Stop! He's my friend." And pedo clown just hits her with the sparkles instead and turns Trini's cousin into cardboard. And I'm like, what
Yeah,
do you mean he's your friend? You just met him and he's creepy.
yeah,
So, lesson to you kids, just because someone's nice, they're not your friend.
yep. That's
They'll turn your
not
ass into cardboard.
not even
Best
just
case
kids.
scenario.
That is sound life advice to anyone listening to this. Just
Good
in
point.
general,
Yeah.
it works that way in adult life too.
Yep. Just because the waitress might seems like she's flirting with you, that might just be them being nice. So calm down, dude. You
And
know who I you know what
that's
I
probably what the case is. I actually a pub near my house. I like to on the weekends like often go there and just like have lunch and I'll sit there and like have a few pints of beer and we'll just read for like 3 hours. But I've been doing that a lot regularly over the past couple of months. And there's this one waitress who actually like remembers me and like to the point that like when I walk in, she'll be like, "Oh, can I get you a Race Rocks? What are you reading this week?" Which and
cool.
yeah, that is cool. And I actually like I tip her quite well. Like I tip her like 25% because like I appreciate the familiarity and like how nice she is and like that she remembers. But do I think she's flirting with me? No.
I had one friend absolutely convinced that they were going through a hot dude phase. And
Uh-oh.
all the examples he gave me of girls flirting with him were like waitresses and bartenders and stuff. And I was like,
Ah.
no, dude, there's a difference. And he's like, I can tell. I know what you're going to say. No, this is different. And I'm like,
These
okay,
are
man.
These are transactional exchanges, my friend.
Okay, dude. Let me know how often that works out for you.
I was gonna ask, like, how did that turn out?
0.
0. Yeah, that's about what I thought. So some shit goes down. Pedo Clown turns into what is it? Pineappleus or something? Octopineapple? I don't know.
Well, they try to get Billy. So they want to pull them away one by one, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, Billy, don't go. And Billy's like, but I have to
Oh
save
yeah, yeah.
Jenny's
That yeah,
cousin.
that was such a weird thing. Like Pedo
But
Clown is like
they
trying to
just
get
watch
Bill.
him, just Billy, though.
Yeah, just Billy.
And the
And they're
others are
like,
like, no, don't go. And I'm like, follow him. He's right there. Just go with him.
yeah. Or
There's a scene with a mirror, and Billy sees that Pineapple's going to sparkle dust him, and he sees in a reflection. So he ducks, and it hits a putty, and the putty gets turned into cardboard. But then he just goes and joins the others again. And I'm like, so much for luring each one by one away. And then Pineapple reveals, like, as he's like transforming or whatever, haha, you fool. The little girl was just a ploy to get to all of you. And I'm like, but you could have just walked up to them and started fighting like you did anyway.
why all the theatrics?
Right? And there's one part, I forget that the townsfolk are immediate, like they're very aware because they're attacked every week by this moon sorceress, right?
Yeah.
I think it's Jason. He gets on like a megaphone or something, and he's like, Rita's attacking, Rita's attacking. Everybody get out of here. And everybody flips out and runs. And I'm like, wow, that is the most efficient evacuation I've ever seen. That would
It's
never happen in real life.
well,
And
it's just
you could yell, there's a terrorist, there's explosion, somebody's got a gun. And only like half of the people would like slowly walk out.
yeah, but as you said, they get attacked every week.
But
Uh,
presumably many people die in Rita's attacks. Yeah.
uh, NeoCal, I would just like to point out the
Uh-oh.
freeze frame on 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Post production note: I actually meant 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Listeners, you don't need to do such a thing, but it pertains to something I mentioned earlier.
Something we were talking about. 10 minutes and 50.
50.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep, you're there.
Yeah. Okay. You've won me over.
For anyone wondering like what the fuck we're talking about, subscribe to Patreon, $5 and up, and you'll hear the preamble outtake audio that will fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
D-
so Kimberly so the putties all reveal themselves and a
Why didn't
big
they just keep fighting them as clowns? That's what I wonder. Are they stronger when they reveal their putty form?
well, maybe it takes like a certain degree of their power to like maintain a
Oh,
facade of
I. You know what? I'm with you on that. I like that some of the putties have like giant metallic balls as hands
yeah.
that they swing around. I forgot about that. And they
Uh
get their butts kicked.
Yeah, big battle ensues. Billy is lured away.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
That
all just like this shit
putty
is.
gets.
It's just a big fight sequence in
Yeah,
in the carnival. Like it's not really something you can explain over
the actor
audio.
that plays Mel, the actor that plays Zach. Wow, really acrobatic. He's rolling around. He's jumping up. Look at him go.
Yeah, he's got the moves.
Yeah,
Um, this the pineapples like true form I find fucking hilarious.
it's
Especially the way
what is it?
he's like around and like the voice filter they have on him, like Especially there's a scene coming up where he's just like walking toward the Rangers, like oh, with his limbs around, and he's just saying like, "Oh, I'm coming to get you, Rangers."
And it's revealed that he's an octopus and a pineapple.
Yep,
He's pine octopus.
pine. There we go. I couldn't remember the name. I was like pineapple, octo pineapple. What
Pine
pineapplus?
octopus. That's thing. That's in the subtitles. He's called Pine Octopus. I thought I was mishearing, but that's what he is. He's a pineapple with octopus tentacles.
Greenie takes her cardboard cousin over to Alpha, their like robot helper, basically,
Yeah,
to figure out how to uncardboard her. And Alpha's plan is like so fucking stupid. It's like, oh, Alpha's like, oh, the only problem I see is like a complete lack of H2O. So it gets out like a bucket of water and like douses her with water, and then she's suddenly fine. I'm like, so your solution was to throw water onto cardboard.
definitely won't kill
Water,
them.
cardboard. Think about what
Everyone knows
happens
that
when cardboard gets wet.
this is how I saw it. Do you remember those little like tiny dinosaurs? And you put them in warm water, and over the course of a few hours, they would turn into these big sponges.
Yeah,
That's what it's like.
but those things weren't made of cardboard.
I know. I was trying to give the episode something. It's holy moly, I forgot the writing, the directing, it's
Uh,
legendary. Oh,
Also, the distinct difference in picture and costume quality between the American shot footage and the Japanese footage that they repurposed from the original Super Sentai to make this. Uh, it's a I never noticed when I was a little kid.
neither did I.
It's really noticeable
Shockingly
when you watch
noticeable.
it as an adult. There's actually it's a later episode. It's an episode where I can't even remember which one it is, but I remember watching it a few years ago during the 8 hour flu induced Power Rangers marathon I
Right.
mentioned earlier. There's an episode where Tommy the Green Ranger is in at the command center talking to Zordon, and it's cutting back, and it's like he's there, and it's Japanese footage, and he's got this like really like high quality, well, high quality for the Super Sentai show,
Yeah.
like molded like his like gold like chest piece thing that he wears.
Oh, the outfits for the Japanese stunt men.
Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
Power Ranger costume,
Yeah.
but the Green Ranger's costume, and he's got like the Green Ranger has like his like gold like shield like
Yeah.
chest piece thing that he wears, and like it's pretty good quality. It's what you remember, but then it cuts away, and he starts to take his helmet off, and it cuts to Zordon, and then cuts back, and the Green Ranger is there. He pulls his helmet off, and it's Jason David Frank, Tommy, but instead of being like a hard like uh whatever material
It's
they
Value
go
Village. Green
instead
Ranger.
of it, yeah, instead of being like an actually like professionally like molded like gold chest piece, it quite literally just looks like gold fabric that's been like gold like foily fabric.
It was
And
the
like
spirit of Halloween and bought a Green
exactly,
Ranger.
and like the point, the bottom point of it, like at it the base of his rib cage, actually, like I shit you not, like curls up forward.
Oh, so they didn't even make it. It literally seems like a
It
spirit of Halloween
it looked like a
costume.
Halloween costume shit. Fuck, if I ever like come across that episode again and I remember, I'm gonna screenshot, like record it and send it to you because it is
Awesome.
it's
Thanks.
so it it's laughable.
Amazing.
So
Yeah, what happens here? Oh, the same thing that every episode. Um, they fight with him. What happens here? Somebody's like, I think we should even the odds. And
uh
before that happens, the Pine Octopus is like, "Haha, I'm undefeatable. I'm the Pine Octopus," and I'm like, dude, you've been alive for 2 days.
Well, I I don't know. Maybe not.
Like, where's this ego coming from? You were clay like yesterday. I, anyways. So
Anyway,
what happens? Like Gordon,
uh,
gold dog,
Goldar. Yeah,
gold
Goldar
dog.
shows up out of nowhere and like swords fights with them briefly, and then nothing comes of that.
I was reminded of how cool he was, and I was like, the dog in gold armor. I loved that dude. And do you remember when like people get hit, like sparks and smoke come out? That is
Yeah.
some anime shit, and I love it. That was one of the things I was like, holy shit, he's smoking them with that sword. And then the others from the moon are there too, and Pine Octopus is like, "Ooh, I could take these guys on my own. Be gone!" And he gestures, and the others like disappear and teleport back to the moon. And I'm like, "You guys were winning,"
Yeah.
and then he sends the others back. Okay.
Well, he sends them back because Rita is about to throw her spear down
Oh,
to make her monster grow.
fair.
Which again, I'm like, why not just start with that move?
Because then there wouldn't be an episode. Because they got to do the it's morphin time, like queue up, and then they have to. It's
It's the
the
way
battle was so short. I was shocked that I didn't remember that. Like it's like paint by numbers. It's like boom, boom, boom. They fight the putties, they win. Monster grows. Form one, form two. Like I forgot. Like there, a lot of the show isn't actually of them as the Power Rangers.
yeah, it's uh especially these early episodes of Power Rangers are extremely formulaic. It's like we get that them as teenagers in Angel Grove. We get find out what Rita's plan is. She sends a monster out. They fight as themselves for a while. Then they morph. They fight for a while longer. The monster is too much for them. Uh, it seems, and then Rita like makes her monster grow. It gets big. They summon the Zords. They fight for a while in the Zords. And then when the monster is too much for them, they're like, we need Megazord power. And they go into Megazord mode. And then they kick its ass.
This episode, they never get their ass kicked except by Gold Dog.
Yeah.
Like when they transform, sorry, when they get in their Zords, what happens? They're like, I want to do something to him like he did to my cousin. And so Zach like uses his frost mammoth um trunk to like free his pine octopus.
What? What? One bit. I one bit that I thought was hilarious earlier when I was watching this was when they're in the Zords, Trini's in the saber-toothed tiger. She's like, "Oh, I'm going in." Jason, the Red Ranger, who's in the T-Rex. Uh, she's like, "Jason, cover me," and he's like, "You got it." And then like Pine Octopus like shoots both of them, and I'm like, "Good job, Jason. Way to be the fucking leader of the team."
I,
Cover me,
it's so,
Jason. Cover me, Jason. I'm going in.
and I love
And
the
like,
show. I respect what it is and everything, but holy moly is the directing bad. Wow. But like we said, it's like paint by numbers.
yeah,
Like
they fight for a while, and
they
then
transform into their first combo. I don't know if that has a name. They're weird tank where they're not quite the full form yet.
I think that's just Battle Zord mode is what it's
Oh,
called.
battle. Yeah, you're right. Or is that the full one?
No, that's the Megazord when they go into like when it goes into full like robot form.
Oh, right, right. Silly me.
Um, so as bad as this episode was, it will never not be fucking hype to me when the Zords are like merging together and we get that kick-ass theme song. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what episode
Well,
it
they knew
is.
what they were doing. Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter what else has gone in the episode. gone on in the episode. Like as soon as the Zords start, like as soon as you start hearing that dun 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 dun, and the Zords like start like merging together, I'm like, man, this is I'm fucking here for
Even
this
though it's
shit.
the same shot for every single episode, just
Every single
reused,
time,
it
it's
doesn't
just
matter.
reused footage. It doesn't matter. It is hype every single time, and I love it.
It's pretty amazing. And hell, like how popular it was.
10 out of 10. Too much energon.
Yeah, so they kick it. Well, that's the show. Uh, yeah, they kick its butt. What happens? The people, Rita and her goons, they like Three Stooges are slapping each other around, blaming each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get a tale at the end of the episode where
Oh, Zach is on the paint
yeah,
cans or whatever.
where well, everything's just okay. Ha ha
And then
ha.
everything laughs. You know what? I watched this with my partner. She kind of likes that. She likes it when and everyone's okay and the little girl's not traumatized. And indeed, there's some closure there. She's like, "Oh, I should have took better care of you, cousin." And the little girl's like, "Oh, don't worry, Trini, you're a great babysitter." No, she wasn't.
No,
You
not
got
really.
kidnapped by pedo clowns and turned into cardboard. But yeah, everything's okay. And sometimes like life is so stressful, you just want every episode to be okay.
I mean, like it's I've talked about this before on I think I talked about it on last week's episode of this podcast actually. Like it's standard sitcom writing.
Yeah, to wrap things up and
Yeah. Or no, I think I talked about the structure of TV writing last week on last week's
right,
episode. On the previous episode, I believe I talked about the tale because Dark Oracle ends with one.
right,
Right.
yeah, resolve the conflict in it and have the audience feeling like there's
Yeah.
nothing. uh
Like everything's okay.
Everything's okay. Yeah,
There's a reason why TV has been doing this for decades is because like audiences like it.
yeah,
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it.
yeah. I mean, what do you want? It's episodic, right? If you don't see this one, you'll see another one. Or in your Christopher's case, he absolutely doesn't remember Pine Octopus.
No, I don't remember this episode at all. And
And you
I
probably never will.
I can't see this. This is not an episode I am going to go back to,
well,
probably ever.
well, on that case, since we zoomed through the actual episode, like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is pretty important to you, at least as far as your like childhood memories go, correct?
Totally,
So in
yeah.
broader strokes, not just clowning around, right? Like how many years do you think you watched it when you were young?
Uh there there's a story there, and you know what? Fuck it. I'll get into it. I think I might have alluded to it at some point on like maybe like a Patreon like outtake or something like that.
Right.
But when I got to a certain point in my childhood, my mom had found religion. My mom had found
Right. You weren't
religion.
born into it. Your
No.
mom found it. Yes.
Well, I was born Catholic, non-practicing Catholic, but then my mom converted to like being Protestant um, when I was 7 years old, I think maybe. Um, but what happened was eventually, like at around 1994 or so, my mom was under the impression, because this is what she was hearing from people at church, basically, if things were not of God, they were against them.
You're with us or you're against us? Okay.
So, a whole bunch of shows that I really liked, I wasn't allowed to watch anymore. Power Rangers was one of them.
I didn't know that. I
Uh,
remember you saying that sometimes you'd see Beast Wars or other shows at your grandpa's or
uh,
your grandma's.
So Power Rangers was one of them. Gargoyles was another. X-Men. Anything with like mysticism or like powers or whatnot
What
what,
about
what
Beast Wars?
was off limits. Didn't really matter by that point. At
Oh,
that
because
point,
that was a few years later. Yeah.
that was a couple of years later. By that point, it was a combination between like my mom kind of relaxing on it and
You being older.
me being older and kind of just watching whatever I wanted anyway.
Right, yeah. That was 96.
Yeah.
Right, right. So what right, Reboot was 94. Do you
Yeah.
remember if she had a problem with that?
No, she didn't have a problem with reboot.
Okay, because it was all just make believe.
Yeah.
Thank God she didn't see like hexadecimal.
Yeah.
Whew. And not
Uh,
because of what she looks like. There's that, but her powers.
so after about the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I suddenly wasn't allowed to watch it anymore. And then at around 97 or so, I decided like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go back and like I'm just gonna start watching it again. And
Hell yeah.
by that point, Power Rangers was into Power Rangers Turbo.
Right.
And then Power Rangers in space, but like Fox Kids was still showing reruns of Mighty Morphin all the time.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, for
called
a
it
long
Power
time.
Rangers Power Playback.
Oh.
It was an actual like programming block where they would air two classic episodes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
uh,
Um, so yeah, that's my story about my connection to Power Rangers as a kid.
it was forbidden fruit.
It was for quite a while.
Did you ever like watch it at a friend's house or
Oh yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, that like I said, Gargoyles, X-Men, like all these shows I wasn't allowed to watch if I was
The
at a
rad
friend's house.
shows.
Yeah, if I was at a friend's house, like I would just watch them there.
Okay, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I had friends um that their parents were super strict. Like they weren't allowed to play video games with blood in them.
Mm. No
So they
Mortal
weren't allowed to
Kombat.
come over and play WCW versus NWO.
Oh shit.
And I was like, but you can turn blood off. And they were like, huh. And then like a year or so like later, they were playing GoldenEye at their house. And then as like 6 months, another year like goes by, I found out that their parents just don't fucking like us. I
Mm.
don't want my children hanging out with the poor kids, and would find reasons to
No.
like send us home because we're being disruptive and stuff.
Mm.
And it was just only in hindsight, when I could analyze it as I was an older teen, did I realize he didn't want his kids like associated. Like he'd make stuff up like, oh, you go over there and you bring back dog hair, and like your mom's allergic to dogs. And then
Mm.
I'd find out like later that like from one of them, they're like, no, my parents aren't allergic to animals. And I'm like, hmm, can't hang out
Mm.
with the poor kids, eh? Fuck you. And just that was like the kind of thing that like they weren't allowed to like play fight from things on TV. They weren't allowed to watch like Monday night, Thursday night. SmackDown was on Thursday, Monday Night Raw, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So guess what always happened Thursday? One of the twins of whom I'm talking about would always come over for dinner.
Yeah.
It was to
Just to
watch.
watch SmackDown.
It was just to watch SmackDown. So
Uh
I feel you on that.
that's pretty rad. Um yeah, I think that about does it for this episode of the Lasercomb podcast.
Yeah, it was interesting getting into it.
We best way to support the show. And indeed, if you want to pick a show that for us to review a random episode of on a future installment of this podcast, go to patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. We have tiers ranging all the way from $5 all the way to $25. At the $25 tier, you get a t-shirt, you get a bunch of exclusive shows, and you can pick a show for us to review on this podcast. So go check
That
that
is
out.
right.
Patreon.com/lasercomb. Go to Facebook.com/lasercomb to get updates for all the various shows that we do, and yada yada. Go to if you want to follow us on Twitter, I am at Lasercomb, spelled the same way, and Cal, you
I'm
are.
at NeoCal, NEO_KAL.
We will be back next week. I believe the show that you chose for the next episode is Undergrads, if I
It
recall
is.
correctly. All right, so we're going to go to numbergenerator.org to figure out which episode we're going to be reviewing. It's
Which
only
of like the
13
10 episodes. 13, yeah.
13, yeah. All right, here we go. One random numbers between 1 and 13, and go. Episode 4, which is New
Friends.
All right.
That's a decent one.
All right.
It ain't the Risk episode.
I don't remember it based on the synopsis on Wikipedia, but I know I'll remember it as soon as I start watching it because I've seen every episode of the show like 50 times.
Me too.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. And I think that about does it. I've been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I'm NeoCal.
And thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
It's Morphin time.
Take a trip to another dimension.